Welcome back. We're on the porch again. You may even hear a little bit of rain. So today we're talking about it's go time. When our kids played ball, whether it was baseball, football, softball, whatever it was, whatever sport that they were playing, we had to make sure that they had whatever equipment that they needed to be able to play, to be prepared. And it's it seemed like that every season was cleat buying season. Every season, whether it was baseball, whether it was football, softball, it didn't matter. It was always cleat buying season. You can't wear the baseball cleats to football. You can't wear football cleats to baseball. Who does that? So it seemed like we were always buying cleats, but they had to have their cleats. They had to make sure they had the right kind of gloves, the right kind of helmet. Again, you can't show up at baseball with a football helmet. That's not going to help. So they had to be ready and they had to be prepared because, it's game time. It's go time. In 2 Timothy 4:2, it says, "Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine." So be instant in season and out of season. So he's talking about, you got to be prepared. You've got to be ready. You have got to be sitting on go. You always have to be prepared to minister to or to teach or to share God's word. We have to be prepared for those opportunities that we can do those things, that we can share God's word with people, just to share what God is doing in our lives or what he has done for us. And, we have to be ready at all times. And we always, always, always need to just be sitting on go. We need to be prepared. We need to be prepared when someone needs to hear that encouraging word. And we need to just take every opportunity. We need to take those opportunities to, when we have those teachable moments with our kids. And we need to be ready and we need to be prepared. And so how do we do that? 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." So we've got to study. We've got to get in the Word. We've got to prepare our hearts and our minds to hear from God. And we've got to hide His Word in our heart. We've got to be ready. Psalm 19:14 says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer." So what is it that's coming out of our mouths? What are you saying? Our mouths can get us in a lot of trouble sometimes. A lot of times we don't think before we speak. A lot of times whatever is in our heart, that's what's coming out. And we haven't prepared our hearts. We haven't prepared and studied like we needed to. You think about trash goes in, trash comes out. So what are we putting into our hearts and our minds that's going to come out? What are we doing to prepare ourselves and to prepare our hearts? Are we equipping ourselves? Are we fully equipping ourselves to be ready at all times? We made sure that the kids were always ready with whatever equipment they had. We've got to do the same for ourselves. We've got to be ready. We've got to prepare ourselves, train our hearts, and be ready when those opportunities come and when those times come. So what is it that we're meditating on? What is it that we're thinking about? Are we thinking on things and meditating on things that are pleasing to God? Are we filling our minds and our hearts with things that are not of God? Whatever we put in there is going to come out. And there's things that we put in there that we really don't want to come out. And so are we prepared? Are we prepared to encourage? Are we prepared to teach? Are we fully equipped? We're doing ourselves a real disservice if we are not preparing ourselves and giving ourselves the tools that we need, the equipment that we need, we've got to allow God to prepare us. Just like you can't show up at a baseball game with your football helmet, it's not going to do you any good. You've got to make sure you're ready. You've got to have the right stuff, or it's not going to go well for you. So, when our kids played, we just, we made sure that they had the right tools that they needed, the right equipment that they needed, and they prepared, they practiced, they studied the sport, they studied the plays, they were prepared themselves to play ball. That, they knew it was game time. It was go time. They had to be ready. When we interview for a job, we prepare ourselves. We look into the company. We look for information for that, on that company. We study that company. We study that job description. We want to know all about it. We prepare the things that we're going to say, and how we're going to say it. We prepare for the things that we are wanting to do. So we need to be ready at all times to share Jesus, to encourage, to minister to. How prepared are you? Are you ready at all times? Because it's go time every day. And we have to be ready. So we've just got to get in our word and prepare. And make sure we are fully equipped to do the things that God's needing us to do. I hope that you have a good rest of the day, and you will think about these things, that you will think about, I do need to prepare more. We prepare for everything else. We prepare a meal. We prepare for a lot of things. But do we prepare to be ready and sitting on go? Because it's game time. So, you guys, thank you for being here, and I'm glad you're hanging out with me again. And until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks, guys.